It started as one of those completely ordinary, forgettable tasks, the kind you don't think twice about. My Wi-Fi had been acting up for a couple of days, slow speeds, random disconnects, nothing dramatic, just annoying enough to finally push me into calling my internet service provider. I put it off longer than I should have, like most people do, but that morning I had some time and figured I'd just get it handled. I made the call, expecting the usual routine. You know how it goes. Hold music, a few automated prompts, maybe restarting the router while someone reads from a script. Nothing exciting, just another checkbox on the list of adult responsibilities. Eventually, I got connected to a representative. He was polite, calm, the kind of person who made the whole process feel a little less frustrating. We went through the basic troubleshooting steps, resetting the modem, checking connections, confirming account details. Everything felt normal. Until it didn't. At some point during the call, he paused for a second, like he was looking at something on his screen that didn't quite match what he expected. Then he asked casually, "Just to confirm, you still want your employee discount applied to your account, correct?" I frowned slightly. "Of course," I said, "that's tied to my current address." There was a small pause on the other end. "Actually, it looks like your employee discount is currently being applied to a different address." That's when something in my chest tightened. A different address? For a split second, my brain tried to come up with a logical explanation. Maybe it was an old system error. Maybe it just hadn't updated properly when I moved. But then he read the address out loud, and I recognized it instantly. My old place. The one I used to share with my ex-fiancée. I hadn't stepped foot in that apartment in a long time. Leaving that place had been more than just a move. It had been a clean break, a necessary one. At least I thought it was clean. Apparently, not entirely. I sat there quietly for a second, processing what that meant. If my employee discount was still active there, then someone was still using it, and there was only one person it could be. The representative, completely unaware of the situation unfolding on my end, continued in his calm, professional tone. "I can remove the discount from that address and apply it to your current residence if you'd like." I let out a small breath. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it carried a lot. Because in that moment, something clicked. Not just about the discount, but about everything. All the loose ends I thought had been tied up. All the ways I had tried to move forward, to rebuild, to create distance. And here it was, this tiny, almost invisible thread still connecting me to a part of my life I had worked hard to leave behind. He was still there, still living in that apartment, still benefiting from something that was mine, something tied to my work, my effort, my life, and I hadn't even known. The realization wasn't explosive. It was quiet, sharp, precise, and strangely clarifying. The representative asked again gently, "Would you like me to go ahead and make that change?" This time I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I would." As the representative worked on updating the account, I sat there holding my phone, staring at nothing in particular. But my mind wasn't in that moment anymore. It had drifted back to that apartment, back to everything I had walked away from. From the outside, it probably looked like a normal relationship. Two people building a life together, sharing a home, planning a future. But reality isn't always that simple. There were cracks, and over time, those cracks turned into something deeper, something harder to ignore. He had a temper, not the kind that shows up once in a while and fades quickly, the kind that lingers, the kind that grows. At first, it was small things, frustration, raised voices, tension that felt just slightly off, easy to dismiss, easy to explain away. But then it escalated. There were moments when he would lose control, pounding his fists against walls, letting his anger spill out in ways that made the space feel unsafe. Even if he wasn't directly hurting me in those moments, the message was clear. This isn't normal. This isn't okay. And then there were the other moments, the ones that are harder to talk about, the ones that don't leave visible marks but stay with you in a different way. There was a time when I said no, clearly, firmly, and it didn't matter. He pushed anyway, tried to force intimacy like it was something he was entitled to, like my boundaries didn't exist, like my voice didn't count. And when I resisted, when I stood my ground, he didn't apologize, he didn't reflect, he went on a tirade about how I owed him. That word stuck with me, owed, as if a relationship was a transaction, as if my autonomy had an expiration date. That was the moment something inside me shifted permanently. Because there are things you can work through, and then there are things you can't. Leaving wasn't easy. It never is, even when you know it's the right decision, even when staying would cost you more. I packed my things, found a new place, and started over, slowly, carefully, piece by piece. And for the most part, I had moved on, built a life that felt stable again, safe again. But sitting there on that phone call, realizing he was still in that apartment, still using my employee discount without even a second thought, it brought everything into focus. Not in a painful way, but in a clear, undeniable way. This was who he was, someone who took, someone who felt entitled, someone who didn't think twice about benefiting from something that wasn't his. And the truth was, he didn't even need it. Financially, he was more than fine. He made over $160,000 a year from his main job, had a side hustle bringing in another $3,000 a month for minimal effort, owned an investment property generating over $1,500 monthly in profit, and had recently made over $100,000 from selling another property. He wasn't struggling, not even close. Meanwhile, my life looked very different. Yes, I earned a comfortable salary, but I also carried responsibilities he never had to think about. A demanding career, long hours, stress that followed me home, and on top of that, a medical condition that required regular immunotherapy treatments. Time, energy, money, things that weren't optional, things I had to manage every day. And yet, somehow, he was still benefiting from something tied to me. It was small, just a discount, but it represented something bigger, and that's why it mattered.
All right, the representative said, pulling me back into the present. I've removed the discount from the previous address and applied it to your current account. Just like that. Done. No drama, no confrontation, no long conversation. Just a simple update in the system. But the impact of it felt bigger than it should have. Is there anything else I can help you with today? He asked. I paused for a moment. Then I smiled, just a little. No, I said. That's everything. We wrapped up the call and I set my phone down. For a few seconds, I just sat there, quiet, still, letting the moment settle. Because on the surface, it was nothing. A minor account adjustment, a $10 discount moved from one address to another. Something most people wouldn't even think twice about. But for me, it felt like something else entirely. It felt like closure. Not the big, dramatic kind you see in movies. No final confrontation, no long speech, no perfect ending. Just a small, quiet correction. A shift, a recalibration. One less thread connecting me to a past I had already outgrown. One less way for him to benefit from something that was never his to begin with. And the best part, he wouldn't see it coming. At some point, he'd probably notice. Maybe when his bill went up, maybe when he checked the details. Maybe he'd be confused, maybe annoyed, maybe even angry. But that wasn't my concern anymore, because this wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about getting back at him. It was about reclaiming something, even if it was small. Even if it was symbolic. It was a reminder that I had control over my own life again, that I could make decisions that served me, that I could set boundaries, not just emotionally, but practically, in real, tangible ways. And honestly, That mattered more than anything. I got up, went about my day, and didn't think about him again. Not in the way I used to. No lingering thoughts, no second guessing, just distance. The kind you build intentionally, the kind that protects your peace. Because sometimes moving on isn't about the big moments. It's about the small ones, the quiet ones, the ones that don't look like much from the outside, but mean everything on the inside. And this was one of those moments. A small step, a simple action, but a meaningful one. A reminder that healing doesn't always come in loud, dramatic waves. Sometimes it shows up in the middle of a routine phone call. And sometimes that's enough.